And we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Serious 3D streaming going on. You can see a stream within a stream within a stream. Basically, today we're going to talk about Sargon of Akkad's Sky News interview. If any of you don't know who Sargon is, he's obviously a prominent YouTuber standing for MEP election. Controversial figure, to say the least, given that his video library is filled with examples of him mocking racists, mocking the left, mocking the radical right, and everything in between. He is himself a centre, probably slightly centre-right, according to his own latest political compass test, so a centre-right liberal. And basically he went on and he did a full interview on Sky News, which is on his channel, which I encourage you to watch, because there is a 3.5-minute segment which itself is broken up into other comments that other people have made that's been excerpted from this, which removes, as expected, all the context from his statements. Here we have the Evening Standard, which again seems to have only watched this segment as well. So a UKIP MEP candidate, this is Sargon of Akkad, it's Carl Benjamin, said, "Personally, I find racist jokes funny," after a video was uncovered in which he made offensive remarks. First of all, no video was uncovered, right? His entire library is there and public, and it has been for 6 years. So anyone can go and find anything. Like, he's not hiding anything, right? And secondly, he said, "Personally, I find racist jokes funny." And then he said why he enjoyed racist jokes. And the reason he enjoyed it was because Britain is not a particularly racist country. In fact, on almost every metric, it's one of the least racist countries on the planet Earth. Even more so. I think the poll he brought up was one of the would you be okay living next to someone of a different race, which in Britain, yes, everyone is fine. 99+% of people are absolutely 100% fine with this. France, 20% of people, no, they wouldn't be comfortable with that. And again, he says, "I would make this joke over here. I would not make this joke in France because it's there." The reason racist jokes are funny is because we're not racist. If I made a racist joke and everyone believed what I was saying, it wouldn't be a joke, would it? It would be a statement of a cultural fact, which is not what it is. Disgusting, the fact that they've done this, right? So it's like, it wasn't even that his explanation was like deep and long enough that it wouldn't have fit into this segment either, but the fact that they just pop that up there as a soundbite like legitimizes his perspective that they are dirty smear merchants, right? Anyway, so Carl Benjamin, who's running as UKIP's Southwest candidate in the EU elections, posted the video in 2015, okay, so 4 years ago, right, in which he calls a disabled person a retard and uses racist terms. Do you know why he calls them a retard? He calls them a retard, one, because he's being a little bit edgy, but secondly, and the main point at which he's doing it, is because that person is dictating that he can't call himself or his friends a retard, and he's saying that's retarded. Now, obviously, it's irony, it's satire, it's a play on the word that they don't want to use, and in fact, do you know what, I believe Sargon is quite a different person when it comes to his actual YouTube personality. He was a very angry man when he began his YouTube career, just a gamer lashing out at feminists and then finding his own sphere and attacking people for the sake of comedy and effect, right? That doesn't mean he should apologise for that, because again, it's for comedy and effect, saying offensive things to shock and offend, which is nothing new in the entertainment sphere. In fact, it's nothing new in the comedy sphere. As he mentions in his Sky News interview, Frankie Boyle, Ricky Gervais, Jimmy Carr, all these people have always, erred on the side of being, proponents of using offensive humour, of being able to express jokes about the darkest parts of our psyche, but also the darkest parts of culture and society, because the way that we joke about them is the way we assure ourselves and we reassure ourselves that we're okay as a society. We laugh at it because it's so surreal. It's kind of so far removed from the everyday experience of most people. Now, if we were a racist society, you don't see, like, it's not observational comedy, is it? Right? And at the same time, when it comes to things like no, I'm going to save this for later in the stream. Right? There's another segment that's worth getting. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to pop the chat out so I can do that. Anyway, where was I? So, in a footage obtained by Sky News, the self-styled free speech extremist, yes, which he is, records himself speaking over an anti-discrimination video. When a woman explains it's not acceptable to call Asian people chink, I believe it was, he replies, "You lose. It's actually just fucking fine, and I'll tell you why. Because Asians are privileged." Right? Now, this, if you're not aware, I mean, most of my audience definitely will be aware, but if you're not aware, right, the fundamental intersectionist, feminist, and, sort of oppression narrative of the general left is that racism is not what we would describe racism to be. It's not... racism is not, acting in a discriminatory manner towards someone of a different race, discriminating based on their race, saying, I'm not going to do this because you're a black person, etc., etc. No, what their oppression narrative says is, you can only be racist if you have power too. It's power plus oppression, and therefore it's impossible for anyone who is in an oppressed class to be considered a racist. And you'll get this from mainly identitarian blacks in America all the time, where they say, it's impossible for a black person can't be racist. We don't have the institutional power. Like, if we don't have the power, we can't be racist. Therefore, if I slur all white people as an oppressor, then that's that, because it's justified. But instead, no. In real life, these definitions don't work. So he's mocking the fact that this person, who is clearly an intersectionist, is saying, you can't call me this thing. And he's like, well, you perform better on every metric. You perform better in income, you perform better in terms of family life, and you perform better, overall, in an international sphere, in that side of things. Therefore, because you're privileged, I can't be a racist, according to your own logic. He's throwing their own logic. It's irony. It's satire. It drives me absolutely insane. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. People calling me a boomer. Benjamin is now known as a slave name on St. Helena. It's going to be a good few years to come, and so on. Christian Verti, I had 3 streams open and I had to click a 4th. I presume that was something, YouTube messed up. I clicked the upload button and it kept giving me an error message, so I had to sort that out. Anyway, either way, Sky News cut disgusting amounts of context framing Sargon as a racist. Yes, absolutely. As I said, the biggest thing. Nigel, Gammon Lives Matter, nice. Anyway, so he then tells the woman to fuck off because of course he would. Of course he would. She is dictating to him. She's using her words to tell him there are things that he cannot say because he's an oppressive person, even though, according to her own logic, she would be the oppressor. It's okay for him to use the racist term because racism is power plus pressure. No, that's not why it's okay. He's saying it's not okay. Oh my god. The irony is just lost on these people. Over the course of the clip, he also calls a woman with Down syndrome a retard. Yeah, because she told him that he couldn't say things in the context of his own friend group as a joke. He called a black man... He called a black man an N-word, right, and posts anti-Semitic pictures over an image of a Jewish man, right. Okay, so with regards to the N-word and that whole context was simply in terms of... if you consider it, there is a level at which white supremacists operate, and they have a concept of the world. They have a concept of different racial groups, and the worst one amongst them, for most white supremacists, is black people, and they use this word to describe them. So what he does, in saying that, is he goes down... He sinks to their level, shall we say, for a fraction of a second, so that he can insult them at the level at which they'll understand, because nothing else is going to get through to them. And he insults them in the way in which, this is their concept of the worst possible human being imaginable. It's the worst possible thing that could ever be. And he's saying, everything that you espouse that you think that these people do, you do, and you do it worse. So you're acting just like your own concept of this thing. You're acting just like... There you go. Exactly this thing. I know some of you may want me to say the word. I just, it's not in my vocabulary. I'm not comfortable saying it. There you go. Asked about the remarks, Mr. Benjamin told Sky News, I'm not really interested in discussing any of these comments with, because, you see, I've had something like 400 million views on my... Now, see, again, this is a misquote, anyway, right? This is sort of half a sentence. He's like, I've got over 400 million views on my channel, and then he goes on to finish his statements, right? I've got a huge audience. If people want to see them, they can go watch themselves and see the context of them for themselves. This is one of those funny things where they're like, no, but if people don't get a good flavour of you through the mainstream media, say, through Sky News, through the BBC, through all this stuff, how could they possibly understand what you're saying, like, understand what kind of person you are? He's like, I have a catalogue of, like, a stupid amount, like, thousands and thousands of views, and I'm sure, like, thousands and thousands of hours of content as well, because obviously he's known for doing longer form content as well. But apart from that, like, it's also almost entirely irrelevant to what he's trying to achieve. Like, his point is, as an MEP, you can achieve virtually nothing. And I'm also there to challenge the establishment, because that's all I can do. Because if you actually go as a policy maker, as a decision maker, as someone who wants to influence European Union legislation, it's impossible. You can't do it. You have absolutely no institutional power whatsoever. Anyway, so he said, "Oh, like, personally, I find racist jokes funny." He added, according to Sky News. Are we gonna actually go through the context? No, of course not. Right. So, as I said at the beginning of this stream, I find racist jokes funny because it normalises the differences between us. We have had divisions in class and divisions in like, I wouldn't call it race, but like nationality between the Irish, the Scots, the Welsh, and the English since, the dawn of Britain. Right, and the way in which we joke at each other and we have banter, right, it's a sign of strength for a start. If you can laugh at yourself and you can laugh at others, and if you can laugh at what other people are saying about you, all the better, because you'll be a stronger person for it. If you roll off, you'll become like Teflon, right? And so it normalises the difference between us. And again, like, it's something that he would do because we're such like a non-racist country. It's like joking and laughing about this sort of thing in a country where racism is actually far more prevalent. It's a no-go, because it would be. Like, most people wouldn't find it funny. They'd just go, yeah, you're right. Like, and that's not what he's aiming for, so it's not what he goes for. Anyway, Mr. Benjamin previously faced questions about his offensive views during the party's EU election launch after he was found to have tweeted that he wouldn't even rape Jess Phillips. Right, well, it wasn't found. Like, this has been a thing which I suppose, like, skyrocketed him to, the news reported on this back in the day anyway. If asked if it's okay to joke about rape, Mr. Benjamin replied, yes. And why shouldn't it be? It's just like, if you think about Frankie Boyle talking about how, like, his uncle used to take him into the attic and there would be a dead monkey with its legs sewn together, and like, his uncle would record him, like, having sex with the monkey, right? Like, it's a horrible joke. It's an awful joke. It's also completely surreal. At the same time, like, he's not actually joking here. Him saying, I wouldn't even rape Jess Phillips, is not a joke at all. He wouldn't rape Jess Phillips. In fact, he's the only MEP candidate who has said he wouldn't rape Jess Phillips. So what does that say about the other ones? Anyway, UKIP declined to comment on the video because it's nonsensical. It's a complete non-issue. But Gerard Batten has previously defended his candidate on the grounds of free speech. Yeah, Gerard actually disagrees with, like, a number of things that Carla said over the years. But, like, he's just like, it's free speech. It's free speech, and you're not actually hurting anyone. I mean, for goodness sake. David Lammy also responded to Mr. Benjamin's remarks on Twitter, writing, "Words cannot express how deeply sad it is that in Britain 2019 we have people who use the word running to be elected officials. This is an ideology of hate. It must be confronted and defeated." Like, the pot calling the kettle black, David Lammy. Like, you're the person who uses racial slurs all the time. You are an ideology of hate. You hate Britain, and you hate white people. I mean, like, oh, for goodness sake. Anyway, so that's the general flavour of it. But the thing I wanted to address was Lawrence Webb, who's another UKIP candidate standing in the southwest for MEP, got to go on Good Morning Britain, and you can see the ratio already. Isn't this exciting? Comments are disabled, but, like, Good Morning Britain disables comments on all their videos. I think it's just standard practice. Not really a problem. Swindon Man bad, yes. Anyway, so we're going to have a listen to this. I'm going to obviously pause and comment alongside if there's anything relevant.
I haven't seen the particular video.
This is one of the things I feel really bad for Lawrence Webb, actually. He gets put in there. He's clearly a busy man, not very well acquainted with the internet subculture and Saga Novikad in general anyway. I'm sure he's a busy man. Doesn't really have the time for that. But they keep referring to stuff. But he's, like, constantly interrupted for this interview. Anyway, go on.
But
I
what's
don't
interesting,
know.
though, I obviously knew something like this was going to come up, so I looked at the other candidates. I mean, Lord Adonis,
Yeah, masterful thing. He brings up the fact that Lord Adonis has said horrible things before, that other candidates, like every single party is filled with criminals, are filled with people who would be considered to have said things which are offensive. Like, it's just... Like, it's such a non-issue. It's just because it's UKIP. It's just because it's UKIP.
tweeted something, a cartoon, which he then apologised for because it was deemed to be racist. It was something about Sajid Javid.
That is not a moral equivalency.
He is a lawmaker.
Use the N-word.
He is a
racist jokes are
lawmaker.
funny. That's not a moral equivalence.
Lord Adonis is a lawmaker. A lawmaker. He sits in the House of Lords.
Okay, so two wrongs make a right today.
No.
Well, that is sort of your argument, isn't it?
But,
do you
but
feel
also,
comfortable
let me
standing
continue
in the same party in the same election?
Point.
No, I didn't answer that question. Do you feel
Let me
comfortable?
finish the point you asked me
You're
first.
whatabouting.
So, also, I mean, I think obviously I've heard some of the comments that have been made in the green room. He mentions Frankie Boyle. I find Frankie Boyle particularly distasteful.
But
he has been given his own show on BBC Two. He is funded by the taxpayer, the licensed taxpayer.
This is the most wild whataboutery I've ever heard.
Carl Benjamin has
I'm asking you as a man
Carl
who's running for
Benjamin has said that
Parliament,
he
for
is
European
an
Parliament.
entertainer. So he did those things in the role as an entertainer. So I haven't
let me
seen
ask
what
you
he
this.
said.
He's now got a new role. I think if he'd said, I said some offensive things and I'm sorry about it.
See, he's not sorry. That's the thing. He doesn't care that he's offensive. Like, if you are offensive, like, what? It's like, was it Ricky Gervais who said it? No, or Steve Hughes. I think Steve Hughes, comedian. It's just like, so, like, I'm offended by that. And Stephen Fry as well. Like, congratulations, you're offended. Like, it changes nothing. You have made no argument. You have refuted nothing. You have... It's like, you don't... Like, no one's forcing people to say these... To listen to his stuff, and to say these things, right? No one's saying... Like, this is such guilt by association. It's like, if we joke about racists because we find them distasteful, and we know that sometimes they're in society and we want to deal with them, like, oh, you know, why wouldn't we... make jokes about them? Like, you take away the power from an ideology by joking about it. Like, by... Anyway, I'm going to move on.
That would be one thing. We may not get past the N-word, but it would be one thing. What he's actually said is, I find racist jokes funny. And the reason racist jokes aren't funny is because they demean people.
All jokes demean someone or something. It's like even Michael McIntyre, right, the most sort of milquetoast comedian you could imagine, when he jokes about getting ready in the morning and like the fact that his kids have like done something, right, he's demeaning his kids, right? Like, but no one's oh, he might be offensive to kids. Oh no, like no one's complaining about Chris Rock when he talks about white girls like doing crazy things in America, or like because I'm a black dude to do this or what, that and the other. Like, nonsensical.
Right? They absolutely demean people and change the outcomes of lives, right? This isn't what we do. We believe that all of us are born equal.
Yeah, and the fact that he's joking about you means that he respects you enough as a human being. Retard.
Right. So I'm asking you, given that he said making jokes about people of colour is fine and funny, should he be sacked?
But
would you say the same about making jokes about white people, I wonder?
as I said,
should he be sacked?
Lord Adonis is
You're
a candidate.
doing a two wrongs make a right.
Because,
it's a simple
I'm not.
question. It's your
but you
party.
see, you haven't got.
Do you, or even if you don't feel in a position.
It's like, if you don't like comedy, congratulations. Like, you don't like this particular way of comedy. I don't particularly find left-wing comedians that funny anymore. Like, I used to enjoy them, and now I just find, like, whenever they bring politics into it, it just drives me mad, right? Anyway, so I won't watch that stuff. I won't enjoy it because I won't enjoy it because I might be offended by something on it. What, like, criminalised comedy? First step to fascism.
Wife is from the Caribbean, so I do find racist jokes particularly offensive.
Okay, so why then do you feel comfortable standing in the same election for the same party for somebody
because
you
he was an entertainer. Entertainers always push the boundaries in humour and things like that.
And now he wants to be involved in making policy decisions for all people of all stripes, and he is not disassociating himself with his comments and belief.
Yes, congratulations, because you, in the Westminster, in the kind of the liberal elite of the media, have absolutely lost touch with the regular person. have absolutely lost touch with what regular people want, and he's there to jump into your system, to mess it up, to twist it up as much as he physically can, to get more representation for people who actually are running this country, the people who are walking the streets, sweeping the streets, the people who are building your houses, the people who are doing your electrics, the people who are, actually doing the brunt of the backbone of the work of this country, the people who are, farming the food that goes to supermarkets, not the London middle class.
That using the N-word is funny, that is inconsistent with being a politician for all people of all stripes. And I was asking you, should he be sacked?
There are two separate issues here. You mentioned a video. He didn't use the N-word in that. That was something else where he was goading white supremacists on some...
I really wish I'd been there. I really wish, because I would have expanded massively, like I did on this earlier. But I would have expanded on this massively and just laid it out to them.
Forum or something like that. He was actually mocking them in that instance.
So look, we have to take
joined the two together.
Lawrence, just one second.
Different.
We have to take a wider point here, don't we?
Yes.
You mentioned that you don't find racist jokes funny yourself. The problem with UKIP is that
it's like, oh, you slot into my moral framework just enough for me to be able to engage with you.
People like this, who do cause offence to a lot of people, are attracted to the party.
Who cares? Who cares if it's offensive?
So while you still have people standing for elections making comments like this, it's going to be a problem for people like you who don't find racist jokes funny.
But I believe in freedom of speech. And Carl Benjamin is an advocate for freedom of speech. I mean, that's one of the reasons that he joined the party, because there are many YouTubers and bloggers who find that Article 13, which has recently come from the European Union, will curtail their rights to run their YouTube channels and various other
freedom
things
of
like
speech.
that.
Oh look, it's been 3.5 minutes and we finally get to an issue which he's actually supposed to be dealing with. Like, the reason Carl Benjamin is standing, one of the reasons, there's a huge impetus on censorship coming from the European Union. He'd like to stop that. There you go.
Allows a person running for the European Parliament to stand by a comment, the basis of which is that people of colour are lesser humans. Right? That's what it means.
I don't know exactly what he said. So
we've told you.
What is the point then?
You mentioned the N-word, but as I said, that was where he was goading white supremacists.
Doesn't this show that UKIP either doesn't vet its candidates?
He was mocking
Can I say
them.
something? It either shows that UKIP doesn't vet its candidates properly, which for a long-established political party is a major failure, or you knew exactly what this guy stood for, and he's on the record going back 3 or 4 years and making these comments, and you don't care, and you put him up anyway. I think that's a disgrace, and it's not just racism, it's homophobia and all the other things that people think are a legitimate target for ridicule and hate. And that's the big difference.
But there's a difference between comedy, ridicule and hate, right? These are all separate, distinct concepts, right? Ridicule is if you do something ridiculous, right? Something worthy of ridicule, right? Then you've got comedy. Comedy being something where it's banter, you're making fun. It's very clear the difference between ridicule and comedy. And then you have hatred, which is entirely different strain entirely. All right? People who make jokes don't make jokes about people that they hate, like particularly, unless they're doing something which is worthy of ridicule.
In between being a liberal, where you believe that everyone is equal and should not be mocked, should not be ridiculed, should not be run down.
I just thought these days we all believed that everyone was equal. I just thought that was taken as read in the modern world.
Absolutely.
Right.
But not by some of your candidates.
Ooh, I really hope that he qualifies that, and that Sargon actually can go up to him and say no, just flatly to his face. I would love if he got elected and then actually had to stand in the House of Commons. I was just like, no.
Well, as I say, I haven't seen the comments he's made. I know that a number of things have been taken...
See, now that this is the weakest point, unfortunately, for Paul Lawrence here, is he isn't that well researched.
I would suggest, and I'm sorry to be, if it seems that we're attacking you, but I would suggest that if you are standing for the same party, it's not why I invited you on. We invited to hear what you had to say, not to attack you. But you're standing for the same party in the same...
Interestingly, I did get in contact with the UKIP's press officer, who said that they specifically requested him. They didn't request Carl to talk to him, to address him directly. They asked for Lawrence Webb.
...election. Why would you not feel it was important to find out exactly what he said?
Well, that wasn't my responsibility.
To talk about your party.
I was selected to be a candidate. I was not involved in
Okay,
the
how about this? Just in terms of pure
but-
self-interest, UKIP has a reputation amongst some people for being a party that has racist views. There's belief amongst some people that that is the case. That's borne out by evidence and data. So don't you think... Oh,
Do you wonder if they have a Labour Party candidate on there, that they're just like... So it's the view of most of the British population that actually you're full of anti-Semites? You're actually a really racist party? Are they going to bring Diane Abbott on and say that? I mean, really?
well, hang on, why don't we try
You see, I find that...
why don't we disassociate our party from the
I
word...
find that particularly offensive. My wife is from the Caribbean. My children are mixed race. I am not a racist in any
You're
way,
not a
shape or
racist.
form.
I didn't say that.
No,
And nor do I believe UKIP.
No, you just wanted to tar him by guilt through association. Also, why does he keep doing this stupid thing with his tongue?
I've been in UKIP for 20 years.
There is an association amongst
All
political
parties,
discourse...
all parties have people who make inappropriate comments. It's happened in the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, Liberal Democrats.
Not to the
Everyone
degree
has
of
it.
UKIP.
But
And
UKIP
by
have a
not-
particular problem, don't they?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay,
Really?
but that's what I was saying. There's just a problem.
I say, Lord
There's a perception issue.
Adonis tweeted a cartoon, which he then later...
Anyway, I don't think there's anything much more to gather from this. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this new format that I've started using. And yeah, just hopefully like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Take care, everyone, and good day.